In this episode of the Campcast, I do another 6 years of Nublar Six. Hello and welcome to the Cretaceous Campcast. I am Cretaceous Dave, and this is a podcast all about Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World Chaos Theory. In this episode, I'm doing another 6 years of Nublar Six as we approach the 6-year anniversary of the premiere of Camp Cretaceous. And in this episode, I'm sitting down with good friend Kia, who you may know as Yutytyrant on social media. Kia's been a great friend of mine for a number of years, and he helps out with the Campcast social media accounts. So it was great catching up with him and talking about these characters. And honestly, I didn't even get to asking half the stuff we did. I kind of ran out of time because of work and other stuff, but it was fantastic chatting with him again. I do apologize if it seems kind of choppy or there are some moments of silence in there. We had some technical difficulties getting going, and in the middle of chatting, there were some technical issues with internet. So I'm going to do my best to edit it so it doesn't seem too weird or awkward, but no promises. So apologies if it is not the sharpest and clearest of episodes. But before I get to that conversation, one thing I wanted to throw out there, if you haven't seen it, the only place I posted it was on Twitter. I didn't share it around anywhere else yet. Still debating if I want to for legal reasons, but if you didn't see it, Hidden Adventure is back for now in some sort of capacity. I want to thank Jurassic Library for them preserving and archiving the video from Hidden Adventure when Netflix was taking it down. And there is an open source repo on GitHub. I forget the contributor's name off the top of my head, but basically he made a Windows application that will allow you to play the interactive Netflix games that were all removed from the platform. So I took it upon myself. I took what he did, some of the files he had, and I made a web version of it. And now you can play Hidden Adventure online on the Campcast website. If you go to hiddenadventure.cretaceouscampcast.com/player.html, you can play Hidden Adventure. It's not perfect. The timing is off for some of the options and a little bit of things. I could try to tweak it if I have some time, but for the most part, it is a playable version online, and I've even tested it on my phone and it works. So if you miss having Hidden Adventure as an option, there you go. It's there until Netflix or DreamWorks makes me get rid of it. Who knows? Maybe they won't. Usually I'm very anti-piracy, but I consider this lost media. Netflix took it away and they're never going to give it back. So once again, thank you to Jurassic Library for archiving it for us. And I feel I'm doing nothing wrong by giving people the option to play this again. Their legal teams may feel different. We'll see. So if you want to play it while it's still there. Anyway, let's get seeing what I have to chat about with Kia. Anyway, thank you for taking some time out to chat. I think the last time we talked was after season 3. So it's been a while.
Yes, I think so. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, of course. Love chatting with you. And
Same.
so lots gone on since then. We got a season 4, which we never got a chance to talk about together. But the main thing with this is just kind of thinking back the last 6 years. Next month is going to be 6 years since Camp Cretaceous came out. So just wanted to chat about your thoughts, your memories. I know you hold the shows, they have a special place in your heart, kind of like they do for me.
Yeah.
So your experience is a little bit different than some other people. So let's get started.
Yeah, outside of like the existential dread that comes with realizing that the shows are now 6 years old, which is kind of terrifying. But mm, I think what I can now say with some confidence is that these 6 characters that we've now followed across 6 years are probably my favorite characters in like the whole franchise, which is helped a little bit by just how much time we spend with them. 5 seasons of one show, four seasons of another show, but I really think that the writers, the people who work on this show, and also the actors who brought it to life, I just think that me and them are in like a similar wavelength, frequency sort of thing. I think we just kind of like vibe with each other. Sorry, someone wants attention. Someone wants attention. I think that me and the writers are kind of in the same wavelength, and yeah, that's why I am so grateful to have had this experience across these 6 years and these 9 seasons.
Yeah, I don't know how involved you may have been, like online at the time. Did you know about the show before it came out? Was it something you were looking forward to? Or I think I remember we were chatting. One of the YouTubers you watched mentioned it, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, I think the first thing I ever saw from the show was that little teaser with a green raptor. I don't know which one it was, but it was like a little teaser with a green raptor. That was the first thing I saw of the show. And admittedly, at first I wasn't like super into it. I I made the mistake of just assuming, oh, it's gonna be some kid show for like very young kids. Uh, it was only after, as you said, one of the YouTubers that I watched, Best in Slot, he was like going to do a watch along live stream on YouTube. So I was like, okay, I'll try it and sort of get this sort of unique experience. And the show started, and I was already like more invested than I thought it was gonna be. And then by the time we got to like season 1, episode 4, which is where the Indominus Rex breaks out and all hell breaks loose. By that time, I was like, okay, I'm like actually hooked. This has my attention, like legitimately.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Now I wasn't watching it, along with somebody the same as you. I don't have to reiterate my story about watching it with my son and stuff, but around episode 4 was the same time because you're kind of making that connection with the Jurassic World film of, okay, I know exactly where we are. I know what's happening. And then just seeing that unfold in the animated show was really cool. So yeah, I agree that from the beginning, it had me wanting to keep watching, but that episode was kind of the one that you're like, okay, now I need to see this play out. I need to see what happened. So it was, yeah, pretty similar experience.
And I also remember being like very shocked at the end when I was like, wait, they don't escape? They're stuck here? I was expecting it to be like a limited series, like one season kind of done deal, but nope, they were still stuck on Nublar at the end of season 1, and from then on, I was like, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I wasn't sure. And then when it ended, you're just like, that's it. We have to wait. Like, how long do we wait? I didn't know anything about, the development of the show or how it went, or was a season 2 even officially announced or anything like that. And that's kind of when I started digging more into looking online for information about it and then finding other, podcasts to listen to. Like, what are they saying about this show and, what's going on and stuff. So it got me hooked early on. And yeah, I wanted to know right then, like, when are we gonna find out more? You can't leave it like this, and the whole, you think Ben is dead, but then at the very end you see him move a little bit. So, I honestly didn't think they were gonna kill a kid in a kid's show, but it was bold to
It was
even
still
do what
shocking,
they did.
when that
Yeah.
yeah, sorry. When that cliffhanger happened and he fell from the monorail, I was like legitimately surprised. Even though I kind of knew they weren't really going to kill a kid in a kid show, because they don't really kill any of the main characters, even in the movies. So they definitely weren't going to do it here. But it was still this shocking moment of, okay, like there are still some stakes. Maybe not necessarily like mortal stakes, but still stakes.
Yeah, and it was not scary, but surprising for a little kid. So like looking at it through my son's eyes at the time. It's like, is he gonna be okay? Like, what's wrong with him? Kind of thing. Because try explaining to a what was he at the time? 3. He just turned 3. So you try explaining to a 3-year-old like, this person was just dropped from a monorail, you know. Um, but yeah, it's I appreciate what they did, and I think Scott had mentioned they tried to kill him. But I'm glad they didn't. You know, I'm glad if that decision was overruled by someone higher up or more important that they did, because you know you wouldn't have your
Yeah,
favorite
because then
character.
yeah,
It would
I would
change
have missed
everything
out
about
on.
you. So, th-
Yeah,
tell me a
probably.
little bit about
Uh,
Ben and your whatever with Ben.
yeah, he's like up until like that final or penultimate episode when he opens up. They're all sitting in the monorail, and I think it's Kenji who asks him, why are you here? You're terrified of literally everything, and he's like. My mom sent me here to face my fears, and I'm sick of I'm sick of always being last. I'm sick of being scared of everything. I'm sick of being this like weakling. And um, I always I always kind of related to that this desire to be stronger or better, but you just can't you can't do it. You want to be better, but you can't quite find the courage to do it. And I kind of related to that. And see him grow in this story, figuratively and also literally. uh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but I can still hear you.
Oh, seeing him grow, both figuratively and literally across, these seasons, seeing him, fight his demons, fighting the Carnotaurus head on. That's one of those things that I think if you think about it, logically, there are a lot of other ways around it. You don't necessarily have to fight the giant dinosaur head on, but I think the visual, it's a strong visual of this kid fighting this kind of with the horns, this very demon looking dinosaur, and that's kind of this metaphor for him conquering his demons and becoming a better person at the end of that. And what I find interesting now that we have the context of chaos theory as well is that I think even with everything that all the growth that he went through, there was still a part of him that still felt like he wasn't quite he was still kind of the weakling, and I think it manifests in season 4 of Chaos Theory. When he and Kenji are on the sort of hyperloop thing, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. You always have to look out for me. I hate that. I hate that. You all see me as weak and everything." And Kenji has to be like, "No, shut up. Please, shut up." Um, all that stuff. All that growth and development, and seeing him go from this awkward germaphobe kid to then basically being the kind of the reason that the group is still together. Like everything he does in Chaos Theory, bringing everyone together, trying to make sure Sam and Yaz and Sammy get back together, trying to even patch up Kenji and Brooklyn. Everything that he does, it's just a real sort of beautiful journey to see, and I'm really glad they didn't kill him off, so we could have the journey. And yeah,
So, sticking with kind of the same topic, did you think they were going to kill him in season 4 of Chaos Theory? What was going through your head when you were watching that, being a big Ben fan?
I mean, if he was close, I went in thinking, no, they're not gonna kill him off. They're not gonna kill a main character. At first, when he first got stabbed, I was like, oh, he's gonna be okay. But then, as the episodes keep going, and you just see him get weaker, get paler. You see the strength fading from him. I'm like, okay, they might actually do this. And then there was the ending of episode 8 when he sort of just lies down and you see him in, I don't know what to call it. Is it the afterworld or some kind of like, it was some kind of representation that he's at peace. When we saw that, and then it faded to black, the last thing you hear is his long exhalation, and then silent credits. I was like, oh, did they actually kill him off? That really did get me. And then episode 9 starts, and they reveal, no, he's still alive. He's still with them. And then they get him to the medical bay. They manage to get there in time. But then there's that moment with him and Darius, which is like thank you for listening to me. And then you see the hand fall off. I thought, okay, maybe that was it. And when him and Kenji are in the helicopter and Kenji's like holding his hand, I was like, is this going to be how they visualize him being dead? And then they just had to keep the torture going with Gia for some reason showing up with a black dress. I mean, I guess people are allowed to wear what they want, but like that was really mean. Until they finally, thankfully, reveal that he's still alive, but bound to a wheelchair. And I like that there was still some kind of long-lasting consequence, long-lasting if not permanent. I don't know. I don't really know how likely what the reality would be. Would it be permanently disabled, or will he, walk again or not? I've been kind of visualizing him maybe after a couple of years walking with like a John Hammond-esque like stick, and I thought that was a cool image. But I like that there was still some kind of long-lasting consequence, even though they didn't kill him off. So I think it's like some kind of nice middle ground there.
Yep, I agree. And they played with your emotion all the way up until the very end, like you said. Especially, I think Scott said they did it on purpose, and Bethany may have said it too, to just like mess with everybody. Like, yep, she is looking like she's going to a funeral. It's up until the very last second they were playing with our emotions there. So I do think they handled it really well. I like the way they did it. I don't think the younger audience probably got it as much as the older fans. It probably didn't hit kids as emotionally, and they didn't really get, what the writers were going for. And I didn't ask either of them when I talked to them, but I kind of got the impression that the entire writing team was like, okay, this is a kids show, but we're writing it for adults, if that makes sense. Kind of like the later seasons of the Clone Wars, where, the writers understood, like, yeah, this is an animated kids show, but this is who we're really catering to, because that show got pretty heavy towards the end. And it's like the last 4 episodes, that whole final arc of season 7 of the Clone Wars is like some of the best Star Wars, in my opinion, that they've made.
Yeah.
And like Chaos Theory did a lot of the same things. Like, yeah, it's a kid's show, but there's a lot of stuff. Even my son now being 8, almost 9, I don't think he would kind of fully get, a lot of what was trying to be conveyed and what they were going for in the show. So the writers, I've praised them a lot over the last few years, but they deserve all of the praise. They did such a really good job with that show.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah, it's hopefully I get to talk to more of them, other than just Bethany, but I haven't had luck trying to get anybody. I had something tentatively with one of the writers, and then we lost communication, so I'll have to follow back up with him and see what's going on.
I'm sure you'll get there.
Yeah.
There was something you said about the Clone Wars comparison. Now, I haven't checked this, but obviously Clone Wars is kind of like the audience that starts to watch it from the very first season, kind of grows up with the show by the time we get to some of the heavier stuff. And I've been kind of wondering, what if the sort of the turnout period for these shows, Camp Cretaceous and Chaos Theory, maybe what if it was just a little bit longer? Because I don't know how much growing. I don't know how much you don't necessarily grow alongside the characters, because much more in universe time passes in the show compared to real life. So I've been kind of wondering, what if the turnout was just a little bit slower? If instead of I don't know 6 years, it was like 9 years. For us to like complete all of the seasons.
It was
Would
even
that
more
have
than
made it
9.
even more impactful for more than 9? If that would
Oh
have made it
no.
even more impactful for the younger kids who started watching season 1.
Yeah, I agree because Darius is what, like 12 or 13 in season 1 of Camp Cretaceous, and then he's somewhere between 18 and 20 or whatever in Chaos Theory. I
12, I
forget the
think.
I
Well,
forget the
12 or
exact
13.
yeah, I forget the exact ages and the time gap between them. But yeah, because there's that big jump between the two shows of what's happening, the kids didn't really get to fully
I
grow up
think
with the
18. I think
characters.
18.
Like you said, it's still some time past. My son is a little bit older, but he was 3 when Camp Cretaceous came out. He was 5 when it ended. That show ran for 2 years, and then there was a small gap, and then there was Chaos Theory, and we ran through 4 seasons of that in no time at all. So, it's 6 years, 9 seasons, where the
Sorry,
time
I
where
lost you for a second there.
oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
My point of comparison is always that the entirety of Chaos Theory came out between 2 seasons of Ahsoka, and I think that's crazy. But
All right, let's go some of the questions I've asked other people when we chatted about 6 years of Nublar Six. Do you have, and I probably know what it is, but do you have like a favorite scene or episode um, that you want to share of either show?
across all, not either show. See, that's a very difficult question because there's a lot of scenes, there's a lot of moments that I really love. I think just off the top of my head, the one that I'm going to highlight here is from the third season of Chaos Theory. I don't remember which episode. I think it's episode 7, where Kenji, Sammy, and Gia encounter the Pyroraptor in the middle of the road, and I think everything about that sequence is so well done. Like the tension and um, the way they frame the scene and all the camera angles and everything is so well done. It really is. It's not scary, but it's like feels horror inspired a little bit. And I think they did a really phenomenal job with the Pyroraptor, especially, but also like with all of the creatures that they featured across all 9 seasons of both shows. Mm, Another sort of moment that I really liked, which is also from season 3, it's not one scene, but everything that revolves around the Malta sequence, the way they expand that, and the way we see more of the chaos and how they wrangle all the dinosaurs together, and everything that happens in Malta is also a highlight for me.
Do you think the show made Dominion a better movie?
Um, that's kind of a hard question for me because on one hand, I can understand what the movie was going for, what the sort of world was, what the world building was, what the sort of larger picture storytelling, world building, everything. I think it makes the Dominion era better, but I'm not quite sure if it makes the movie better for me personally. Which is like, if you were to give me the choice between watching the show and the movie, I will always, I will always pick the show. But maybe if they do the thing that I know you've suggested it several times, which is someone should make a chaos cut of Dominion where they sort of merge the movie and the show together, that could be the definitive version. That would satisfy basically everyone. Both people who like the movie, both people who like the show, everybody.
Yeah, we just need to find somebody that has a whole lot of time on their hands to sit down and
Yeah.
edit. Um, I do think that would be really cool though. So hey, if anybody's listening, you have video editing experience and a lot of free time, let's do it. Let's make the chaos cut of Dominion.
But this is a, if you if you excuse me, this is something that both shows have done really well, which is I kind of mentioned how I feel like the writers and the producers, the people involved with making these shows, they are on the same wavelength as myself. They either want the same things from the franchise, or we love the same things about the franchise, because there is this clear pattern of they take an idea from the movies and they sort of execute it in a way that I like it more. Like, for example, in my eyes at least, it's personal taste. Ben and Bumpy is basically Owen and Blue, but done better. The whole thing with, like, the Scorpius Rex, I think, is Indoraptor, but done better. And then when you get to Chaos Theory, the whole thing with the Atrocity Raptors and the idea of weaponized dinosaurs, it didn't really work for me in the movies, but I think the show sold it really well. Or the idea of just the concept of Dominion, I think the show did a better job at it than the movies did. So I don't know. I don't. This is why I really want the creators of the show, and I know this will never happen, but I want the creators of the show to make a movie. They've sort of they've gotten their feet wet with an animated show. Now I want them to take a stab at an actual movie, because I really think that me and them, we liked similar things about Jurassic, and I think that would really improve. That would really make me, like, really excited for the future, even though I know it's never gonna happen.
Yeah, it's most likely never going to happen. But the other thing is, with the creative team behind a show, they have a lot of time to let things breathe and play out. You have 9, 10 episodes of a show. You've got four or
Yeah,
5 hours of time to tell your story, where you've got half or a third of that when you're making a movie. You've got to condense a lot of things. And I'm not saying the writing team can't do it. I'm just saying they have a lot less to work with. So it may not
yeah,
end up
definitely.
being as great as we would hope it would be. And then I wouldn't want to be disappointed, like, oh well, yeah, okay, they should have just stuck to TV, 'cause not everybody can make the jump from TV to thing, and not everybody can make the jump from animation to live action.
Yeah,
There's
that's a fair point.
there's a lot of criticism about Dave Filoni, about his Star Wars stuff. Like, okay, you've nailed animated Star Wars. Like, it's some of the best stuff. And then, like, his live action, the episodes of shows that he's directed and then the shows that he's written, you're making a live action show like it's a cartoon, and that doesn't translate for some people.
Maybe
So
that's why I like the mall show more than the majority of other stuff that Dave has made. Maybe that's the reason. I never thought about it like that.
yeah, I mean, he's amazing at what he does with the animated stuff. It's just he doesn't. I don't know, and we'll see how Ahsoka season 2 turns out. But he doesn't seem to have his pulse on live action. Um, but I don't know. This is not a Star Wars podcast. Although it could be. I don't
It could be.
know. Let's see. What I don't think I asked this to anybody else. Maybe I did. I have a hard time remembering what I had for lunch yesterday, so I definitely don't remember what I chatted with other people about. But do you have a favorite dinosaur from all 9 seasons?
See, that's also very hard, because again, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like is a species that didn't get that much screen time in the movies, because as you said, there's less time in general, got to really sort of shine in the animated series. I think I mentioned the Pyroraptor earlier. I mentioned, I could mention the Suchomimus, which I thought was really well handled in general. In season 2, there's a lot of we spend a lot of time with it, and we see a lot of like real animalistic behavior. Like I love the scene where it's scratching against a tree that makes it look like oddly cute. I love that stuff. Um, but if I had to pick like one, maybe in terms of how much the sort of jump in quality was for me, I could say the Atrociraptors, because I did not like them at all in Dominion. They were kind of like Velociraptor 2.0, but I think the show really sort of gave them their own sort of unique identity. They really expanded on them. We spend a lot of time with them. They are potentially the standout dinosaur of chaos theory. They appear in every season. They have really good scenes in every season. Um, a standout could be the moment in episode 2 where I think it's Red. Yeah, Red tricks the leucistic baryonyx by mimicking the clicking sound that Doc. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. The
Sar.
the crazy doctor. Yeah,
His name is Sar, right?
by mimicking the clicking sound that he makes, yeah, and I thought that was like kind of creepy, but also like it really highlights raptor intelligence really well. So if I had to pick one dinosaur, probably the Atrociraptors.
Did you like that they made them be able to camouflage?
Honestly, yes. If anything, I wanted to see more of that, because I don't think they do it that often after season 1. It's kind of dropped. So if anything, I wanted to see more of that. I thought that's a really cool idea. It makes a lot of sense for a assassin slash weaponized military dinosaur to be able to camouflage. Yeah, I wanted to see more of it, if anything.
Yeah, it was kind of there, and then that was it. They didn't really bring it up anymore. And I think originally a lot of people are confused, like, why didn't we see this in Dominion? But it it was cool. It's just kind of there and gone though, so I don't really feel one way or another about it. I was just curious what your opinion was
Yeah,
on it.
they kind of dropped it.
I understand from an animation perspective, it would be expensive and take a
And
lot of
also,
time. Oh,
sorry,
no, go ahead.
your
I'll
question.
finish what I said after.
I was going to say you asked me about a dinosaur, but I feel like I just have to mention, because I said that thing about the sort of writers and creators of this show, maybe like wanting the same things from the franchise that I want. I love the fact that they featured a Smilodon in season 4 of Chaos of Camp Cretaceous. I thought that was a really cool choice. I think it's something that the franchise should do it. Just I think it's a net positive. I uh, it kind of sucks that it's such a controversial topic, but if anything, I wanted to see more of it, more of that, and I'm really glad that at least, if nothing else, we got that one species of prehistoric mammal in season 4. I thought that was a really like cool idea, even if it dies pretty soon, pretty soon
Yeah,
afterwards.
that is something you think the franchise would go into a little more, because with all of these different companies having this knowledge and technology at their disposal now, not everybody's going to make just dinosaurs. Like, people would want to bring back a Smilodon or a mammoth. Like, I'm definitely surprised we haven't seen a mammoth. Now, we had mammoth remains in Camp Cretaceous season 1, but for sure someone is bringing back a
Mm.
mammoth. Like, people want to bring back a mammoth now in like our world. That would be one of the first things you would assume once this genetic power was out there that people would do. But for some reason, they stay away from the more modern extinct animals.
Didn't they want to have a mammoth in season 4, but they couldn't do it because of budget reasons? I remember something like that.
Oh,
I
maybe.
think that's why there was an Arctic biome to begin with.
Oh, could be. Would make sense then. Um, yeah, that I can see it getting expensive with all that hair, and that's kind of where I was going before. You lost me for a little bit, saying the one thing in Chaos Theory I wish we got to see more of was the Therizinosaurus, but I know it's very expensive to animate, especially with it being in the dark and how feathery it was and how big it was, that it would have been very time consuming and very expensive if they added that to the show more. I'm glad we just got it, period. But I definitely would have liked to have
Yeah,
seen more
same.
of it.
And I like how even though it has a pretty limited screen time, but even in that short amount of time, they still like give it a little bit more personality, where it just chooses violence. Because it can't see properly any sort of obstacle or anything it encounters. It thinks it might actually be a threat, and just goes to town on it. Like it kills, I think, a Parasaurolophus. It completely like it attacks a tree, thinking it might be an obstacle or a threat or something. The fact that he like chooses violence, the killing that deer in Dominion wasn't a one-off. It's just he's just like that.
She's like, that's
Nice
my
little bit of.
bush. Yeah, I've said that to multiple people that were on the fence about watching the show, because so many people have the like, oh, it's a kid's show, it's made for kids. I'm like, no, well, yes, but give it a chance. Don't just write it off because it's animated. That's a terrible mindset to have about anything, because there's a lot of animated stuff made specifically for adults. But it also builds character for the dinosaurs, because we said before, you get such limited screen time in a movie. These shows do such a good job of building on them, like the Atrociraptors are an example. The Pyroraptor is a great example. And even the Giga, like we figure out, like, okay, why is it so slow and lumbering in the movie? People had issues when they saw the first Chaos Theory trailer. Like, this thing is running around, and in the movie, it's just like, slowly, like, oh, we find out partway through the show, the kids run over its foot, So this thing
Yeah,
is,
poor thing. I feel so bad for them. I feel so bad for it.
yeah.
I
And
love
then we
how
saw, good.
both the show and the movie is just Giga getting punished or like exploded or being run over or shocked or
Yeah.
killed.
And we get to see
Poor thing.
multiple instances of it having confrontation with Rexy. So it's not like a one-off thing in Dominion. Like, this was building up over time. So like that part was cool too. I like what it added to all the Dominion dinosaurs. It was and the Quetzalcoatlus too. That
Yeah,
had some great
especially
scenes in Chaos Theory.
I was gonna say that because the Quetzalcoatlus is probably my all-time favorite canon design in like all of Jurassic. And
The
it was
Dominion
always such
one.
a wasted opportunity to me that in Dominion, yes, the Dominion one. In Dominion, I think it was like less than a minute of screen time, and they spoiled it all in the trailers. So the fact that it got to do a lot more in this show, again, just nice expansion on stuff that the movie could not do or chose not to do. But yeah, that one is definitely a highlight.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's I don't know how I forgot it the first time I was going over the animal. Well, because it's not a dinosaur. I said dinosaurs there. I'll give myself the out of why I forgot about it. um
Yeah, that's why I didn't answer.
just be nerds about it. It's not a dinosaur, so I can't answer your question about dinosaurs. Um all right, we don't have a lot more time because I have to get back to work soon. But
Speaking of
what
that,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one more thing, which is the thing you mentioned about nerds. I really think Darius is probably the best sort of representation of a dino nerd I've seen in uh, media in general. The same way Dr. Alan Grant is a great representation of a scientist, an actual paleontologist. Darius is a great representation of someone who's younger and he's enthusiastic about dinosaurs. He's interested in dinosaurs. He loves dinosaurs, but he's not like a paleontologist quite yet. and I relate to quite a lot of his scenes and the way he acts and just everything about him so much. He's a very special character, and I'm really glad that we got to follow his journey across 9 seasons. And he's brought to life really beautifully by Paul McKell-Williams.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Excellent character and a really great job acting. And he grew up with Darius, so that was really cool to see too. A young actor do that. When you were talking about that, like him being representative of a dino nerd in media, the first thing I thought of was totally different franchise, but each of the kids from the different iterations of like Dino Dan and Dino Dana, like
Yeah,
Dana in particular of the four kids, like I could see her and Darius being friends, just because of how like geeky she was about dinosaurs and stuff like that. So it's like there's a crossover I didn't know I wanted until just now.
yeah. Now I need to see them too. Working on dino experiments and everything. I
Yeah.
don't care that it's two different franchises. Someone needs to do that.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, she becomes a like paleontologist in the later half of Dino Dex. Because I don't expect anybody of my audience to probably watch that show. That show's definitely made
Yeah,
for
we're
kids.
probably
But
the
like,
only. We're like the only adults who like follow that show.
yeah,
Not.
they like it's funny because it kind of went up as they changed kids. Like, okay, Dan's getting too old, we'll do Trek. Trek's getting too old, we'll do Dana. Dana's getting too old, we'll do Dex. But like, the show kind of progressed in a way that it wasn't just little kids that can enjoy it. And then I feel like when they went with Dex, they like took a step back, that it was more for little kids. I'm assuming the budget was a lot lower. There are way less dinosaurs. The CGI doesn't look as good. The episodes are only like 9 minutes long. So, um, it was still fun to watch, but I still think Dino Dana is some of my favorite paleo media, if you want to consider it that. And I
I
thought
mean,
the
yeah,
movie was
yes, it
really fun.
is.
I thought the movie was
Yeah,
really
same.
fun. So, so if anybody is listening or watching to this and you've never seen Dino Dana, go check it out on Prime Video. I recommend it. And now Sinking Ship Entertainment can pay me 50 cents for plugging this show.
Yeah.
All right. Before I have to go, I want your final overall thoughts on the shows. Let's just call it the the animated part of the franchise as a whole. Um, you know, Go ahead. Go.
Not really much to add besides the fact that, as I said, they're not perfect. They're obviously not perfect, and there are things that if I were somehow in charge, I would maybe do differently. But because of what I said about the sort of just vibing with this show, I just vibe with the writers and just the style and the approach and everything. It's not a perfect like series of. They're not a perfect series, but I'm really glad they exist. I honestly really like them, love them. Like Chaos Theory is probably my second favorite Jurassic thing after the original. Um, you know, um, and whilst they are kid shows, they have some limitations that come with being kid shows. But at least this adult, and also I know you share the same sentiment. I'm really glad that these got made, that they exist, and I got to experience them across 6 years.
And if it wasn't for the
Um,
show, we wouldn't know each other.
yes, also that
So,
also true.
we both made friends because of this show. I think that's something that goes overlooked sometimes, that this silly, kid show has brought people together. And I've made a number of friends, not just you. We're in completely different parts of the world that we would never talk or stumble upon each other, most likely. But this enjoyment for this animated show, brought us together, and now we're really good friends. And I
Mhm.
have other friends that I've made because of this, and I'm forever grateful for what the team behind these shows has done. It's definitely changed my life.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's I don't think that they had that in mind when they set out to make an animated Jurassic show,
Probably not.
but if anybody's listening, Scott, maybe you are. Sometimes you do, I think. Um,
Mhm.
I thanked you in person, but I'll thank you again and everyone else involved with these shows for um yeah, literally being life-changing and life-saving and, you know, made a great friend like you and a lot of the other friends that I have because of the Jurassic community and the franchise, but it all circles back to Camp Cretaceous as the reason, I talk to people. So it's pretty awesome. I'm really glad of everything we've gotten over these 6 years. If you think about it, we're really spoiled. We have 9 seasons of a show over 6 years, and there was a gap in
Mm.
between the two shows. So it was like 2 years of a show, then 2 years of nothing, then 2 years of another show. So really, it was only 4 years. We got 9 seasons in 4 years, which is just absurd to think about. When, like you said,
Mhm.
we're going on 3 years now. It's going to be almost 4 years before the second season of Ahsoka comes out after the first season. And it's just crazy how much animated Jurassic we got in such a short period of time. And I know we're not the only ones that, yeah, we're kind of hungry for more. But actually, this is a good question before we do have to go. Um, I've mentioned my thoughts on what I think about continuing the story or if there's more. What do you think about that? Would you like to see a third show or a movie, or are you content with where they left things and you don't want to ruin the ending of Chaos Theory?
I'm kind of on two minds about it because on one hand, like I really do miss these characters. Like I miss them, daily. But as you said, I think the ending of Chaos Theory, where the show left off, is such a perfect ending that I am kind of scared of maybe ruining it or making it less effective. I think the ideal sort of solution for me would be if the same team, Scott and the producers and the writers, if they were to tell another story in sort of the setting of Jurassic, and is like following a different set of characters, new characters, new story, new everything, and we kind of maybe other people have the same experience that we had with with the Nublar Six. Other people can have it with a new set of characters and a new set of stories. And maybe if like when enough time passes, maybe you can have Darius as like a special guest in like an episode or two, something like that. You can have references. You can, uh, as I said, maybe even bring a couple of the characters back for like secondary roles, supporting roles. But I think the best thing to do if they want to tell more stories is to just tell a new story with a new cast of characters, and sort of, because sometimes the best thing you can do for a story is right at the end. You don't want to like overstay your welcome. So new story, new characters, that would be my sort of preferred way of doing it. If we ever get anything more, whether it's a movie or another series or whatever.
Yeah, I like the idea of that because then we get more, but we don't have to potentially ruin the great ending that we had for those characters.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good place. We can wrap this up. I'm sorry we don't have more time. I do have to get back to work, unfortunately. Life happens. But
Unfortunately.
I want to thank you so much for taking time out that we were able to do this. I know sometimes coordinating days and times with us is very difficult with time zones and
Opposites.
uh, everything
Yeah.
you have going on in your part of the
Uh,
world. So
yeah. Thank you for taking time of your busy schedule. You're busier than I am, especially today. Sorry we had some delay. E- internet connectivity is not the best here, especially in this sort of current circumstances. But thanks for still having me on board.
Oh yeah, of course. I love when we chat, and it's been too long, so it's good to catch up.
Yeah,
I do wish we had some more time, so maybe we'll be able to do it again sometime soon. But thank you once again for taking the time out today.
same.
Okay, thank you once again to Kia, who you may know as Yutytyrant, for taking time out of your day to have a conversation about Camp Cretaceous, Chaos Theory, and the Nublar Six. Like I said earlier, it's great talking to him. It was great catching up, and we should do it again real soon. Other than the hidden adventure news, I don't have any updates about anything. Still trying to work some stuff out with some interviews. We'll see how that goes. I will try to have some more content for you. Hopefully, part 2 of the Jurassic World evolution build will be coming real soon. I honestly thought I would get to have some time this week to do it, but I didn't. We'll see if I can carve out 15, 20, 30 minutes to do part 2 of that and pick up where I left off. But until next time, I want everyone to stay safe, stay Jurassic, and have yourselves a good one. So long.